Anytime you beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourself.
Okay, so I'm kind of committed now. I think I'm going to start making these videos either every day or every other day. At least probably for the next month, just because I have a lot to say. But in this video, I want to talk about how really the whole pandemic was a test run for imposing digital ID. And I think by and large, a lot of people are going to react the way that this gentleman in the UK says that they're going to react. I'll put the video here.
People are saying they're not going to accept the digital ID, they're going to resist. Well, I disagree. I think we are going to have the digital ID. And the reason why we're going to have the digital ID is because we have a lot of weak people in society. And when the going gets tough, they get going. You know what I'm trying to say? When they start telling you you can't go to your football matches, you can't go on holiday, you're going to start hearing people, well, I had the digital ID because I just wanted to watch Man United play, or I wanted to go to Ibiza so I could get out my face. They're the people that are going to fuck it up for us. Okay, the weak people that are going to crave him, because that's what's going to happen. You get me? Because these people don't stand for nothing, so they fall for anything. That's with me. I'm detached from society. I do not care about no sport because I realize sports is a distraction. Yeah, and I also realize freedom isn't something that's given to us. Freedom is something that we fight for, and a lot of people they ain't about that. So, you know, I realize, you know, you have to be detached from life, and a lot of people ain't touched in life. They're in a little bubble. Most people are worrying about, you know, what's on Love Island, what's the football player doing this season, or what other people are in a fantasy and a bubble. They're worried about what designer shoes they can get, what designer bag they can get. And I also told people, do not take the furlough. I said, don't take the furlough. What did you people start to do? You took the furlough happily took the furlough. You were sitting in your dressing gown in your pajamas laughing, yo, I'm still getting paid, we're getting furlough. Well, no, you were getting fucked over and you had to pay it back because nothing's free in this world.
Now, what happened during the pandemic was really obvious. They used the stick and the carrot method. Well, they kind of lured you into complying with their demands. And sometimes they used a stick and sometimes they used a carrot. Sometimes they entice you into giving in by rewarding that behavior. And other times they would punish you by excluding you from being able to do certain things. So yeah, I expect the exact same thing is going to be done when they try to force digital ID on us, where they're going to say that, oh, if you comply, then you can do all these things. The carrot.
Clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrowing. I mean, you were mentioning, Chris, about how all these states are reopening. They're reopening at 100%. And we have a very narrow window to tie reopening policy to vaccination status. Because otherwise, if everything is reopened, then what's the carrot going to be? How are we going to incentivize people to actually get the vaccine? So that's why I think the CDC and the Biden administration needs to come out a lot bolder and say, if you're vaccinated, you can do all these things. Here are all these freedoms that you have. Because otherwise, people are going to go out and enjoy these freedoms anyway.
But once you comply, this isn't going to be like the pandemic where you're now free to do as you wish as long as you've got your vaccine passport. Quite contrary to that, it's going to mean that you have to continue complying with more and more demands forever. And unlike the pandemic, they're eventually going to take all the carrots away and it's just going to be stick.
Where there's only 2 clicks left when you are required to have digital ID to move around and have a life, and when cashless central bank digital currencies are the only way you can buy and sell. At that point, you've lost your freedom. If you follow the breadcrumbs to 2030, anyone can look up the UN 2030 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. By 2030, Britain specifically will have no commercial passenger aircraft leaving the country. You will not be able to leave. There will be no ships leaving the country. You will not own private transport. You will have a digital ID to do everything, and you will only have electronic money with which to transact. I would say at that point you are a slave. And because you can see them coming, you should say no. Say no right now. Stop. The things that are happening are really fantastic. But they go back decades. There's no question that there's been a very long run-up to the level of control that we are going to face.
So, I mean, these weak people, the people who will easily go along with it and easily comply, I mean, there's a lot of psychological manipulation at play here. I myself, like, I was a paramedic before the pandemic, and I saw even people who are fairly intelligent, doctors, nurses, they completely stopped using their brains. And I think part of why they did that is a psychological phenomena that's demonstrated in the Ash experiment. I'll put that video here.
The Ash experiment is one of psychology's oldest and most popular pieces of research. A volunteer is told that he's taking part in a visual perception test. What he doesn't know is that the other participants are actors, and he's the only person taking part in the real test, which is actually about group conformity.
Please begin. The experiment you will be taking part in today involves the perception of line length. Your task will be simply to look at the line here on the left and indicate which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. So, for example, if you...
The actors have been told to match the wrong lines. The volunteer will be monitored to see if he gives the correct answer or if he goes along with the opinion of the group and gives the wrong answer. In the first test, the correct answer is 2.
1. 1.
1.
2.
1.
Once again, the correct answer is 2.
3.
3.
3.
3.
3.
The Ash experiment has been repeated many times, and the results have been supported again and again. We will conform to the group. Again, we're very social creatures. We're very much aware of what the people around us think. We want to be liked. We don't want to be seen to rock the boat, so we will go along with the group. Even if we don't believe what people are saying, we'll still go along.
1.
1.
1.
1.
Group dynamics is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology.
1. 1.
And really, the Ash experiment just demonstrates that people are very prone to groupthink. I mean, yeah, people just said and did things that didn't make any sense throughout the entirety of the pandemic because of the Ash experiment effect, the effect of groupthink, where you can just be subdued into thinking the way the group says you need to think and assume the perspective of the rest of the group. And honestly, the same way that this was done during the pandemic to make people comply with vaccine passports, they're going to sell it as a return to normalcy. Be like, oh, you can live a normal life as long as you do as we say. But it's going to mean the end of normal life forever. There isn't going to be a return to normalcy once we accept these things. And it's going to be very hard to convince the gullible and the foolish among us that that's what's going to happen. And those of us who are still able to think for ourselves, it's on us to set the tone on this, because these weak people, they'll just go with the herd, or what they perceive as the herd, which is even more frightening. They can just use bots. Bot farms, and convince people that the majority says this is what we have to do, even if the majority is completely against it. They can completely manipulate through social media algorithms how people are going to react to this by pretty much just flooding our social media sites and the places that we gather online with bots that'll spread the impression that, oh, we're just going to do this. So there's a way of artificially manufacturing the Ash experiment effect on people's psychology. And really, this is where this is all moving towards, where we're going to have a converging effort of these different technologies to mindfuck us into submitting to a system that under normal circumstances, if we really thought it through, we would never accept. And I can't stress this enough, they're going to use the same method that they used during the pandemic, because people are going to react to it the same way. If I just comply, I'll be able to travel. If I just comply, I'll be able to go to the sports game. If I just comply, I'll be able to keep my job. It's not going to work that way. It's going to mean the end of your normal life. Yeah, that'll be the reward that they offer you at the beginning. That'll be the carrot that they lure you into your cage with. And there'll be a stick. They'll try to beat you into that cage with a stick, but they're luring you into a cage. And really, I think we run the risk that if those of us who see this risk don't play offense now, it's not going to end well for us. We need to be on the offensive. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, mass non-compliance is the way forward. Mass non-compliance got you through the pandemic. It didn't stop you from being abused. And in the end, most people got in the cage. If we try to play that the same way we played it during the pandemic, we're going to lose this fight. You have to play offense on this. This is why I'm going to make a video about this every single day, or every other day, as often as I can almost, because really I could probably talk for hours about this, so I'm going to. At least I will have it in my mind that I've done everything that I can, said everything that I could, and done my best to try to stop this from happening. And really, again, if you see what I see and you feel what I feel, I want you to do the same thing. Go ahead, share my video, make your own videos. I mean, we all kind of have to, we all have a role to play. We have to get ahead of this, because if we allow people to fall into this trap of thinking that this is going to work the same way as the pandemic, and if I just comply, I'll get my digital ID and I'll be able to live my normal life. So many people are deeply naive and just think that way. We have to use shame on these people. Anyone who's supporting this has to be immediately shamed, and publicly shamed as if they're, I mean, these people, you're going to be a cancer on society, and you're going to regret for eternity that you were such a weak-minded, weak-willed person who would just give in to such a system. I mean, you look at Chinese people who talk about the oppressive nature of the Chinese totalitarian control grid and the digital ID system and their central bank digital currency that they use to control everyone. That's what this is leading to.
If you go to China, they're piloting it a few years ago in Shenzhen. So I lived overseas. If you go to Shenzhen, back in 2017, they already had facial recognition cameras there. So if you jaywalked in Shenzhen, they would immediately detect that and send you a notification, and they would deduct money from your what they call WeChat account. They use two main apps, WeChat and Alipay. So you can actually deduct your money directly from your account. This is 4 years ago, so this is not like some sort of conspiracy theory. It's not something that's going to happen 10 years into the future. This happened pre-corona in China. And so this system in China that exists is extremely advanced. They can detect if it's a man or a woman. They can guess your age. They can detect what kind of car model it is, who the manufacturer is. This is a sort of technology that we see in all these dystopian sort of films and whatever. And people keep putting it off and thinking that this is something that's going to happen later in my kid's lifetime or my grandkids. It's already here. And if this gets implemented anywhere, especially in a Western nation, it's not going away. Israel is already talking about the fourth shot. Then they're going to be going to herpes, and they're going to ask if you're gay. They're going to be asking if you ate 3 pizzas this week because it's unhealthy. If you buy certain books from certain countries, your country doesn't like you. You'll lose points in the social credit score system. So this is already the reality of the world in certain places, and we need to be aware of that if we don't want that or if we do. And to be perfectly honest, anybody who wants this vaccine passport, it's a misnomer. It's total control. Everything you do or don't do will be calculated. To the point where if they can detect your GPS signal. If you have a phone on you, they can detect who you're hanging out with. Oh, you're hanging out with somebody that said something bad 9 years ago on Weibo, okay, like a Chinese equivalent to Facebook or something like that, right? Oh, you lose 2 points. Oh, you bought Japanese books, you lose 5 points because you don't like Japan. This is what is going to come here because it's already there.
And we're doing that a little bit with contact tracing for COVID, aren't we? So that they can see where you're at and who you're with.
The simple reality is that the technology that CSIS has and all these big tech corporations, they already know where you are. It's just that they don't want to shock the system too much and admit that they have it. Edward Snowden revealed all this back in 2013. He fled to Hong Kong. They wouldn't keep him there, so now he's in Russia.
Yeah.
But the NSA has all of your information. They know your Google searches from like February 9th, 2004 in a bunker in Colorado.
Help me, Rhonda.
Right? They have all this information. So, but they don't, like in the US, they have the Fourth Amendment. They're not supposed to track you forever.
If you want to condemn your children to a dystopian future where you're ruled under a totalitarian control grid, go ahead and comply. Take the carrot. But you're going to regret getting in that cage. So I'm going to make probably another video about this topic because people really have not learned the lessons that should have been learned from the pandemic. A lot of people, they're avoiding the reality that these vaccines that they took were contaminated. And again, I don't think David Speaker, the doctor who identified that contamination, should have been the first person to find out. When you're creating a new drug, you think that they didn't test for that? You think that they didn't know that the manufacturing process that they used could have caused contamination? They should have known that, right? Why did it take some guy, an independent researcher, several years into the vaccine rollout to find that out? You were lied to from the very beginning. And honestly, we've re-elected a lot of the people who lied to us, so it's clear that people haven't actually learned that lesson. And those of us who have learned the lesson, it's on us. We have to show them what's going to happen. And really, if we don't really convince people and create an environment that's so hostile to the people that are willing to comply, I mean, they need to fear the rest of the herd more than the shepherd, because the shepherds are leading us to the slaughter right now. And again, people saying it's going to require mass non-compliance, no, it's going to require mass resistance. If you just try to get out of this by being non-compliant, the weak among us will fold until there's a small minority of us left. And then it's going to be like we're going to be Edgar Friendly living under the city.
So you think you're taking me in, huh? Guess what? Not happening. You tell Cocteau he can kiss my ass. Yeah, that's right. You tell Cocteau it's going to take an army of assholes to get rid of me because I don't give a shit. I got nothing to lose.
I don't want to rain on your parade, pal. But I don't know who the hell you are, let alone want to take you anywhere. So stay here, be well, and Cocteau's an asshole.
Hey, let's take him and dump him up top. They're only down here to spy on us.
Wait a minute. You're the guy outside Taco Bell.
Yeah. What do you want?
I guess you weren't part of the Cocteau plan.
Greed, deception, abuse of power, that's no plan.
That's why everybody's down here?
You got that right. See, according to Cocteau's plan, I'm the enemy. Because I like to think. I like to read. I'm into freedom of speech and freedom of choice. I'm the kind of guy who likes to sit in a greasy spoon and wonder, gee, should I have the T-bone steak or the jumbo rack of barbecue ribs with the side order of gravy fries? I want high cholesterol. I want to eat bacon and butter and buckets of cheese, okay? I want to smoke a Cuban cigar the size of Cincinnati in the non-smoking section. I want to run through the streets naked with green jello all over my body reading Playboy magazine. Why? Because I suddenly might feel the need to, okay, pal? I've seen the future. You know what it is? It's a 47-year-old virgin sitting around in his beige pajamas drinking a banana broccoli shake singing I'm an Oscar Mayer wiener. You live up top, you live Cocteau's way. What he wants, when he wants, how he wants. Your other choice? Come down here, maybe starve to death.
All right, then why don't you take charge and lead these people out of here?
I'm no leader. I do what I have to do. Sometimes people come with me. All I want to do is bury Cocteau up to his neck in shit and let him think happy, happy thoughts forever.
And I got bad news. I think he wants to kill you.
Really, that's what this is leading to. They're going to be excluding everyone who does not comply from society. And I know a lot of people who didn't comply, you eventually got to return to normal life. There isn't going to be a return to normal life if you comply with this. I can't stress that enough. This is the end of normal life forever. I mean, digital ID is just a cage. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can create systems that prevent government tyranny and allow you to control your own information, control your own identity, instead of handing it away to the government who just wants to use you like a slave. And really, I think a lot of people are going to go along with this because they don't see a brighter future. They don't see an alternative. And we have all these influencers for years now who've been warning about this, but warning about it without offering any solutions or any alternative to it. And really, that becomes a conditioning process where people just are trained over the course of many years to expect this is what's going to happen. And it sets the expectation in people's heads that they're just going to have to accept this. We do not have to accept it. And really, if we don't want people to accept it, we have to show them that there's a better option and a brighter future and a different alternative path that we could take, where we're not just going to be serfs that are controlled through some totalitarian system forever.